And during these 5 years, we've had a lot of sessions every month and very relevant topics and relevant ideas on helping schools. And we would like to get in topics from schools which are relevant, which are the burning issues, and then we would like to come here and participate and learn from one another so that we can take away for implementing in our schools. So that was how it started. And so today we have with us Nirupama Kaushik, and also from Librarians of India. And so starting today, the next and the two next sessions, we are going to be collaborating with Librarians of India, and a little bit of Librarians of India before we move on to introducing Nirupama for you. So the Librarians of India is building a community of dedicated librarians. They're working across India to provide children, regardless of their socio-economic background, with free access to quality Indian literature. Their mission is to promote inclusive education, foster a love for reading, and ensure that every child can enjoy the rich diversity of Indian stories. So they collab we would love so we've collaborated with them. They share resources and they advocate for a bright and a more literate future for the next generation. And Nirupama Kaushik is a part of Librarians of India, and Nirupama is presently a library educator at the Somaya School in Mumbai. She's a passionate library educator with over a decade of experience in teaching and leadership. She firmly believes in the transformative power of books and stories to cultivate cognitive, social, and emotional growth in children. At the Somaya School, she and her team have redefined the library as more than just a space for issuing and returning books, transforming it into a vibrant hub that nurtures readers and fosters a sense of ownership through connections with people, places, and practices. Her work centers on building a strong culture of reading and writing, encouraging deeper engagement with libraries to inspire and empower learners. So, welcome, Nirupama. We are waiting to hear from you. And whatever Nirupama is going to be sharing today is all that she has actually implemented in her school. And she's really worked hard with her team. And so, we are eager to listen to her and her story. Welcome, Nirupama.
Thank you so much, Jayshree, and thank you, Adhyayan, for hosting this. Just quick check, am I audible? Everybody can hear me, see me, all of that? Great, all right. Jayshree, I just need a little help when I'm presenting in case I'm not able to see the chat box. If you can just read out any, if anything relevant's coming up there. Yeah, thank you so much.
So please keep putting your inputs in the chat box, also your questions. We would love to address your questions at the end of the session today. Yeah.
So I hope my screen is visible to everyone.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So thank you so much. And let's get into shaping minds, the essential role of school libraries and librarians in education. So before we jump into this, it sounds like such a loaded title, but I'm sure as we go through it, we're going to talk, discuss, learn so much from each other. So before we get into this, I would like to start with a really simple story, one of my favorites about the library. So just give me a second, I'll get that going. Now, when I would do this with children, of course, I would read it as an interactive read aloud, but because of the time that we have with us today, I'm just going to read the text aloud. So here we go. It's The Librarian from the Black Lagoon, a story by Mark Thaler and pictures by Jared Lee. Today, our class is going to the library. We've been hearing some really scary things about the place. The library is somewhere behind the boiler room. It's called Media Center of the Earth. Mrs. Beamster is the librarian, and the kids call her the laminator. They say she laminates you if you talk in the library. She also has a library assistant named Igor. You know you're getting close to the library by the signs on the wall. So please have a look at those signs over there. No talking, no whispering, no breathing beyond this point. They say you're allowed to stay in the library as long as you can hold your breath. Some kids last as long as a minute, but that doesn't include the time in the decontamination room. There you put on hair nets and rubber gloves. And next you have to go through the gum detector. So no whispering, no talking, no shouting, no breathing, and definitely no chewing gum in the library. Once you're finally in the library, you can't actually check out books. In fact, you can't take them off the shelves. To keep the books in alphabetical order, Mrs. Beamster bolts them together. Also, they say the shelves are electrified. So no touching, because you can see what will happen if you touch those shelves. If you twist your neck and squint, you can read the spines. Everyone says the best part of a library visit is story time. All the kids stand at attention while Mrs. Beamster reads one of the cards from the card catalog. And it's on the screen for you to see what's happening. Or if you catch her in a good mood, she'll recite the Dewey Decimal System by heart. Botany 580, Budgets 332, Business 338. They say Mrs. Beamster has a crush on Mr. Dewey and that she carries his picture in a lead locket around her neck. She also has rubber stamps on the soles of her shoes, and wherever she steps, it says, overdue, 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 overdue. She seems to have ears on the back of her head. If she catches you whispering, you don't want to be in that library right now. You are laminated. They say she puts glue on all the chairs so you won't wriggle. Then she shows you slides of all her vacations since 1902. She goes to the same place every year, the Library of Congress. And you can see some very interesting people have joined the children in the library. Mrs. Beamster also subscribes to 3 magazines: the Mortician's Monthly, the Complete Pamphlet of Zip Codes, and Spots Illustrated, the magazine for cleaner laundry. And these you do get to read. So no taking books off the shelves, but you do get to read these 3 magazines. But stay away from her plants. They are Venus flytraps. And don't pet the animals in her petting zoo, which contains a piranha and a porcupine. Don't go near her computer either. It uses a real mouse. Just a quick show of hands. How many of you don't really want to go to this library? Yeah, I can see a couple of hands going up. I think I would be petrified myself. But moving on. Well, it's time to go. And as we near the library, there are lots of signs. Books are fun. Books are joy. Read. I'm so happy. If you look at that, there's a welcome sign and everybody is welcome. We march right in and sit down in little chairs. These must be the ones without glue. Mrs. Beamster comes over with an armful of books and puts them on our table. Then she smiles and hands me one. It's a book of knock-knock jokes. And she actually saved that for him. There's conversation, there's laughing, there's talking. And I'm going to love the library. And that's the story of the librarian from the Black Lagoon. So as you read that and as you went through it and how do you feel that the role of the librarian and the role of libraries has evolved from your time in school till today? You can either put it in the chat box or, we can take a couple of answers, maybe 2 or 3 answers. You can unmute yourself and share. How has the role of the librarian and the library changed? Apeksha says definitely less controlling. Yeah, of course.
May I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, Nirupama, Jayashree. First of all, I'd just like to introduce myself. I'll give my name and where I work. I have joined your session because I'm very much interested as a fraternity member, being a librarian. But
So,
Jayashree,
ma'am,
I'm the exception. Yeah,
I'm just going
I'm
to
the
come in here.
exception over
Yeah.
here. When you mentioned Librarians of India, because I have joined you from abroad. Anyways, coming to the point of this particular book narration, or story narration, as you said, yes, libraries are very, very much different now. They are not just, a dumping ground of books or just the traditional norm or the affirmation we have that, okay, what does a librarian do? She has a very easy life. She is just there to issue the books, give the books, and that's it. She's done. She doesn't have much of workload, so to speak, in the cliche, as the classroom or the homeroom tutor. But that's pretty wrong. We librarians, we are, I believe, the one man army in every school, wherever you are located. So, as a librarian or as the library space, I believe it is much more of an information space. It is the hub, it's the heart of a school. I consider it that way. So I'm just, saying it very precisely. Someone
Yeah,
else can
wonderful,
join.
Thank you
Manisha.
so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. And I can see a lot of comments in the chat box. And I will come back to two things that you said about easy job and issue and return of books. So thank you for
Yes.
that, Manisha. Yeah. So moving ahead, libraries, librarians, your thoughts. Some of you have shared how it's less controlling, how it needs to be the hub of the school. It should be a place for social interaction. And that's exactly why we're here today, right? To see how all of those things can happen. Should they happen? Can they happen? How will they happen? So when we look at the role of libraries and librarians in a school space, now very specifically, I have to bring in over here that I am talking about a school library because we do have certain restrictions in terms of the structure and, that we only get about 40 minutes with each class in a week. So whatever ideas that will be shared and things, overall, the philosophy can be used anywhere, but we have tried to build something within our school structure itself. So just putting that out there that please go out, try, we can talk about all these things later in terms of how community libraries work, how other libraries work. But this particular presentation is about school libraries. So what do we need for learning to take place? If you could just put it in the chat box. We're saying library, learning, education, all these things. What are the basic elements that we need for learning to take place? And Yashi, I'll need your help to just read them out from the chat.
I'm going to do that for you. Yeah, yeah.
Sure.
Interaction. Jaita says interaction.
Great. We need knowledge, we need trust.
Activities. Yeah.
Lots
Knowledge,
of things, right?
interest,
Trust.
reading, trust, readiness. Make students interested in resources.
Absolutely. So this, when we ask generally, what do we need for learning to take place? It largely requires 4 elements, which are learner, environment, content, and processes. But having said that, I think I'm going to add a word with everything that it needs a motivated learner, a safe and comfortable environment, it needs relevant content, and it needs interactive processes. If you agree with me, you could just show me a thumbs up on the screen. Great. All right, thank you. And how do these 4 things come to play in the library? When we look at the library as a space for learning, we support motivation by making it a welcoming space for children to come in and have several resources. Why should it be restricted to only one kind of resource? We look at different kinds of resources. It's a safe environment because we allow children to be, we give them the freedom to cater to their diverse needs, abilities, and their interests. Clear and relevant outcomes, because whatever we do in the library has to tie back to the larger vision of education. And this can happen if we are in sync with what's happening across the school, what's happening across the classroom. So we need clear and relevant outcomes, curricular needs, and of course, skill development. You need engaging content. So like I said, multimodal resources. If it's books, it could just be books, magazines, print, digital, all of those things. And collaborative learning and social interaction. If you have these things in your library, then why will learning not take place? So just to share with you, when we started out so many years ago, the school definitely always had the vision that a library, reading is important and the library must be an exciting place and there must be lots of books on the shelves, etc. And this used to be our secondary school library. And if you can see, we tried our best with the space given to us. We tried our best to make it a little attractive, a little interesting. But somehow we felt that we were always just not clicking, like the vibe wasn't there, as we could say today. Like it just felt a little dead in one sense, although we were trying our best to keep things alive and going. And then what we did was we started taking a lot of feedback from our children. We were learning as we built this library. And from this space, we were able to make it one that looked like this. Now, if you can see, we started highlighting our collections. We put down the books in a way that would actually be really accessible to children. And also the space that was designed was built by asking children what they want to see in their new library. So children told us that, if we have too many tables, we're not able to collaborate the way we want to, etc. That is why this idea evolved into giving them the space to just sit and be in the library where they could sit comfortably, access the books easily and all of that. And we also saw that keeping the library as a space that allows children to explore themselves, explore books, explore other things, we started adding other kinds of resources to the library. Now, for example, if you can see the picture over here, after children are done with reading a book or engaging with the activity, we put out a couple of things for them to deal, to go and work with, whether it was coloring sheets, whether it was puzzle activities, etc. And over here, children are playing games. And this was something that we started because we noticed, especially with our primary school children, they were not really pulling out books or trying to read very quietly in a corner. And then we said, okay, why don't we add something to that? And we introduced reading buddies. So if you can see here, you have this child holding this, little penguin and reading. And we noticed that children started getting a lot more comfortable in the library. It was a non-judgmental space for them. And we were happy that we were moving towards creating something like that for them in school. Just a couple of examples to show that from where we were to how we were slowly progressing to a bigger and better idea of a library. And then, like I said at the beginning, that the school had this vision that, reading is good, writing is good, etc. But it's one thing to have an idea, and it's another thing to actually implement and take that idea forward, and how do you execute things. So it came down to what is this thing of building a culture of reading and writing. At this point, I'm going to have a poll out. So Siddesh, if you could help us with the first question. When we talk about this idea of building a culture of reading and writing, what does a culture of reading and writing mean in your school and context?
I hope you're all seeing the poll question on your screens. I think you can choose multiple options here. So go for multiple options if you feel more than one of them, you relate with more than one of the options.
If I can see the bars moving up and down.
Yeah.
So shall we end the poll if everyone's done?
No, I think people are still doing.
Sure.
Yeah, I think we have about 68% of 71% have voted.
Okay,
Yeah, maybe we could end the poll.
sure.
Yeah, we have about 77% have voted. And you can show the results. Can everybody see the result? Yeah, okay.
So encouraging students to read and write regularly for both academic and personal growth, integrating reading and writing activities in all subjects in classroom teaching, creating engaging programs like reading challenges, book clubs, creative writing workshops, and building the
That's got the
library.
maximum vote anyway. That's got
Exactly.
77%.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and I think it's really important, this data that we've been able to get, because we're all moving away from this idea of just reading and writing to making it a more interactive thing where children are actually full participants in that process. Great. Thank you. Our next poll. So Deshu could have the next poll on the screen, please. So as we move ahead in terms of, creating challenges and getting literary events organized, etc., are there some misconceptions about the library or its role in promoting literacy among stakeholders? You can see everything's moving between yes, no, yes, no.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we can end the poll now. It's been constant for some time now.
Sure.
So we
As
have
you
about
can
5% votes saying yes, there are
yeah.
misconceptions.
So, when we think that we have really moved ahead from there, but there are still some of these misconceptions about how a library needs to be and what a librarian really does. So if you all can just put in the chat box 1 or 2 sentences of what these misconceptions are like. So Monisha had mentioned right at the beginning that people think it's an easy job, or it's just a show and return of books. Just 1 or 2 things that you have heard and you have come across.
The place to go for detention. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Sometimes do that. Oh God. And if the child is a reader, I mean somebody who loves to read, that's bliss for him. It's not detention.
Discipline.
It's a
Yeah. So many things. And misconceptions. Here we go. Only libraries
it's
can
just for
build good
issuing and
readers.
returning. Yeah.
Only reading takes place in there. People
Mm.
think we're simply sitting in the library and we just have to give books.
Librarians
So
are
lots
free
of that.
people with no work.
Yeah.
Libraries are only for research.
Absolutely.
It has to be a
And
silent zone.
And, so that's the thing, right? That right from the beginning, when we spoke about it, people said that things have changed a lot. But when I asked this question in terms of misconceptions, we seem to take 4 steps back, that these misconceptions still exist about the library. The last question is just out there for you all to think, because very often when we have worked in the library, we do have this particular question coming in between our work to say that how do you balance promoting reading for academic success versus reading for pleasure? I'm sure many of you have had that question. Like you said, reading happens only in the library. To break that myth, no, reading doesn't happen only in the library. Reading happens across life. So whether you are in the classroom, at home, we're reading things all the time. We're reading the score, the cricket score. We're reading what, license plates. We're reading shopping lists. We're reading billboards. We're reading all the time. So when we talk about reading, it does not happen only in the library. And also in terms of the other thing, when people talk to us about academic success, they also say that, oh, the librarian needs to conduct reading assessments. So that's not the librarian's job. That's the language teacher's job. You are here to promote reading, to make it fun for children, to make it reflective for children, to ensure that they are in a place that is, like I said, that supports motivation, that supports safety, that supports all these things. And that actually is our job. So when we're very clear about that, we can actually move forward to building a culture of reading and writing. So let's have a look at how that happens. Now, this is something called the 5E model, which was actually designed for science pedagogy. So it was a way to look at inquiry-based learning and reflective practices and things. And what I've tried to do, and I have to share that this is the way I look at a library, and this is the framework that I use. So I've tried to use this model to understand what happens in the library. How does the 5E model work? That we engage, then we explore, we explain, we elaborate, and then we evaluate. So as long as these things are happening in the library, it gives us a great base to build on our work and practices. Now, why do we look at this? Why do we look at this understanding of a library? Is because it is the one place in the school. A child spends in a day about 7 hours at school, and there is a strict curriculum. There is, although there are tons of activities happening around, the library is perhaps the only place where they get access to diverse resources. Now, you are introducing them to so many kinds of stories, so many kinds of situations, books, problems, solutions, all of that. That makes it important for us to ensure that book curation is done in a way that it caters to children's abilities, needs, interests, all of those things. And all these resources should be in the form of different media, different forms of media, including paying attention to languages, cultures, promote diversity, inclusion, empathy. We look at promoting reading habits in terms of, are your activities and events engaging? Do children want to come back to the library? Are they deeply involved when they are in the library with work? Does it also build 21st century skills of collaboration, creativity, communication, and critical thinking? And these are questions, I'm putting it out here for a while because I want you to think about whatever practices you all have in the library. Are they catering to these things? How does your library support curriculum? Are you going out often enough to talk to the teachers about what's happening in your school? Are you talking to them about what subjects they're taking up? And how do you provide materials for all of those things? All that is happening in the classroom. And also, are we building enough resources to achieve learning goals? And these learning goals may not necessarily be only academic. It could also be in terms of, social emotional learning. It could also be in terms of critical thinking. It could be the 4 C's. All of these things, how are we helping in the library to do that? And if it's like, by now we should be at a place where this is a given, that all of this happens in the library. Information literacy. If you remember the story, the librarian from the Black Lagoon, if those children knew about information literacy, they would not have believed all those rumors about their library. And especially in today's world, when you think about information literacy, we are bombarded with information. There's information from all sides, all corners, all of that. And unless we teach children how to locate, evaluate, and use information, we are doing them a very large disservice. Because children use gadgets, we have to move with the times, we have to adapt with the times. And things like media bias, fake news, If we're not teaching it to children, who's going to take that on? We also look at digital literacy. Now, maybe some of you do not have technology integrated in the library, but eventually I hope that there is a possibility to move towards that, because again, how are children dealing with the advent of technology? Are they able to manage themselves online? How are they staying safe? All these things, if to talk to them about digital citizenship and looking at integration with technology. These are children who are far smarter than us with the use of gadgets. How are we keeping up? What are we doing to provide a safe environment for them to learn about these things? Now, when you just look at this one slide, do you really think that a librarian has no work, or a librarian is someone who does not, is only sitting there to, check out books or any of this? You all are information handlers. You all are masters of how information has to be passed on to children. And in that time, you're also building empathy. You're also working with curriculum. You're also teaching them about diversity. I think it's the best job in the world. Yeah, we'll have questions at the end. We're going to have questions at the end. I'll just go on and then
no, I don't have a question. I just wanted to interrupt you over here. Just, you should do this and show this particular slide to all the SLTs of every school, you deal with. We as librarians, we know our worth. Let me, I'm just reiterating everybody's point of view. But it's the general norm, as I had mentioned earlier. Others, the people around us, they take librarians for less. I'm just saying it very bluntly over here, but that's the truth.
So I will address that towards the end also. And I completely understand the space you're coming from about this. But also this slide is to help you see that if there is any librarian or any librarian attending the session who has not yet started doing these things, then this is your call to action. It would be lovely if you can think of all of these to move ahead, and don't get caught in that whole idea of being just somebody who's issuing and returning books. And especially, I think this divide came up a lot during COVID, where people felt that since it's digital, what does a librarian really have to do anymore? But, so we were doing all of this. Mandana, may I request you to mute yourself, please? Thank you. And like I said earlier, that when we say that, reading is only getting children to read is only the librarian's job, it's not. It's every adult in the child's life have to be involved to get children to read. When we look at our stakeholders, we keep the child actually at the focus of everything that we do. And around that, then we have teachers, parents, and community. So if someone tells you that you just do the issue and return of books, it is not just the issue and return of books. Keeping that there for 1 minute. If there are principals, HODs, anybody attending the session, we're going to move ahead from here. So before I go to the next part, I would just like to share that this has been work that we have done in the library. We are nowhere close to perfection, but we are definitely trying consistently to do certain things. And the next couple of slides that I'm sharing is just work that we have done at the Sumaya School Library to build on this. And we're still learning and we're still adapting, and we're just trying to find that perfect sweet spot where, we achieve all our goals. So it's not just issue and return of books. What we also look at doing is thematic book displays. Now, these are a way to showcase our collection, to keep something fun for children out, to keep something for them to think about. If you see the picture on the top side, it's a picture on war. So we actually put up, it's a display on war, and we put up books related to war and things, and we had children come in and talk about it. We can also have a lighter side where we had a blind date with books. So get creative, feel happy, experiment. And here we saw that our Hindi books were not being issued. So a team member put up a display, telling children, come and borrow us also. We're here in your library. We try to see how much space we can use no matter what. So we have interactive display boards. There's blackout poetry, there's wheel of reading, spin the wheel, discover new things. And as long as we keep it fresh for children, the idea is that we want children to step into the library and feel that, okay, what's new in here? Am I going to learn something in here? What can I do? This doesn't involve like one person standing, an adult standing near the child. We just leave them free and let them do what they want, figure things out, talk to us, all of that. Oh, sorry. Yeah. We look forward to sharing our collection with people. So this is like, I would say we're getting there, you know, sometimes we get it a little late sometimes, like I said, not perfect, consistent. We try our best to share as much as we can with our students, with our teachers, put out new books on display. If you can see, there's one where we've tried to attract them to the book by giving them some information about the book. And it's constant work. There's no breathing, no time to breathe in the library, really. This one is also to tell them, to give them the opportunities to express. Now, children have rich lives, but how many times in school do we really give them those opportunities to talk, to share, to discuss and things? And the more we've worked on this, we feel that the library is the place where all of this can happen. Now, on the side, instead of, just telling them to write book reviews, which is what we were doing initially, just telling children, you read a book last week, come and write a book review. We converted that into writing book recommendations. Now, we have nothing against book reviews, but it was just a way to make it more personal, more participative for the child. And we put them up on the board. So children came up to read what their friends had been reading. And we could see a change, a shift in our borrowing also. Here we have Janeet of 10B. He's, of course, moved on from school, is in college now, but he had left this note for us once saying that, he carries, he was not so interested in reading, but now he is. And it just happened suddenly. I just want to highlight that he also mentions here that he enjoys reading picture books and colorful books. So just breaking that idea that picture books are only for small children. It is how you handle it, what you do with it. They're attractive, they're fun to read. So many of them have themes that can be used across grades. We look at doing engaging activities. Now, these are a lot of activities. I've just tried to put in as many as I could, catering to everything else that we have. Interactive read aloud is a huge one that we do in the library, that we hope that children get to listen to lots and lots of stories. We also have children integrating some amount of art related to the story. So sometimes it could just be drawing characters. Sometimes it could be, you read about a painter in your art class. In your art class, you learn the style of a painter, and we do a read aloud along with them in the library and get them, collaborating with the art teacher and things. You can collaborate across. There are so many different subjects and everything that you can collaborate with. There's library class activity. This is a library class activity of making board games. So we also encourage our children to make games related to books and reading. And here, this is our game that we made our senior secondary students play. So we did scavenger hunt in the library, looking around for different kinds of things. Now, this is the other practice that we've had for a bit. It's called a book talk, where we encourage children to come up and share about the books that they've read, but leave everybody with a hook. So people are interested and curious about borrowing, what's happening, what someone else has read and recommended. How do you get others to borrow it? Just an anchor board of sorts to show you at one time what all is happening in the library. So we've had teaching of elements of a story, getting them to plan their story out. We've taught them timelines. We've spoken to them about narrative writing. There's research process. So all of these things are happening in the library in different classes across the grades. We also promote students' voice and choice. This is this year's Jarul Book Awards voting. So we participate every year and have children read these books and come in and vote for it. And then the final award is decided and presented to the author and illustrator in January. This is a class library competition that we held, where we had children were given the brief that they had to make their own libraries in the classroom, and also had to use sustainable material. So you could not buy anything for the library, but you could use any discarded item from the house, or you can repurpose something and use it up. And giving it that little edge of the competition got them extremely excited. They also use the space that when they have a free period, they come out and sit in this little space to read. So we're trying our best to promote reading, not just in the library, but they see it everywhere. No matter what they're doing, they see it everywhere. Now, for 10 years, we have conducted what we call the Literary Fest. We've had authors, activities, competitions, all of these things happening in school. We've also seen a transition of doing this consistently, that from interacting with authors, children have now become authors. And they participated in this competition of rebooks, and we've had 22 children publish their books now. And I always think of this as long-term investment, that you start small today and you keep doing it. And then ultimately you will see the results of your hard work 10 years later, and you'll really reap the benefits later. So this is, from interacting with authors to becoming authors. We also look at celebrating all things literary. Now, this is a performance that we had this year of a group that dramatized Julius Caesar, Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, but they did it through a clowning act. So we got children to see another perspective of Julius Caesar, and also we conduct a lot of competitions. Just to show you that the library should not be restricted only to reading. You have to give them different ways of approaching a subject, approaching a book, approaching literary material, and be creative, have fun, make mistakes. It's okay. It's absolutely okay. In terms of evaluation, collecting feedback from children, this is of the fest that we conducted, all the feedback that children have given us. Again, as a librarian, I'm not so bothered whether it's perfect English or whether, they've got their spellings right. For me, it's more important that they express themselves, which we've been able to build that culture also. Coming to teachers, we look at it from all angles, all stakeholders. So this is what we put up in the month of April, where we had teachers sharing and tagging each other about the books that they were reading. So children got really excited seeing that in the library. They came and they checked and they said, okay, so-and-so teacher is reading this book. So they tried to hunt for it and talk to the teacher about it. So again, it's sparking an interest for children. We also looked at hosting an event where, I would say a workshop rather, for teachers, where at the beginning of the year, we got them in the room. They all sat subject-wise, and we spoke to them about the curriculum and the library, and how can the library help you achieve your curricular goals. Now, we've been trying to do this more often in the library also, so that teachers are also a part of what we're trying to build. My teammate also conducted this beautiful book tasting, where we had our pre-primary teachers sitting together. And then, of course, they just went through the books, checked them out, decided how, rated it, like how you would do with a meal in a restaurant. Now, the reason why we feel this is important is also because until teachers know what books are there in the library, how are they going to take them to the children? And it's all adults. It's not just the librarian. Here we invited a teacher to come and do a book talk. So she, spoke about a book to the children. They were excited about it. So again, we could see how this small steps really influence children's reading interests and how they view the library. This is just another activity we put out. It's from a training that we done for a group of teachers, and it's a speed dating activity, something like the book tasting, but again, putting it out and giving them time to explore books. And then we look at our parents. Now, parents also play a huge part in building this reading and writing culture. This is a book club that we hosted for parents in a couple of years ago before COVID, where we took a book that spoke about adoption and things, but we invited parents to come and be part of this library and experience reading for themselves. And a lot of them came back to give us feedback saying they had not really picked up a book in so many years, and this enabled them to do it. This is a workshop that we've invited. When we try to get community involved, we try to collaborate and network and get more people to come and talk about libraries, to have workshops for parents. So this is a workshop that we had conducted on how to raise readers. And also looking at other aspects. We celebrated Roald Dahl's birthday in September, when we involved parents to come by and they dressed up as characters. So everybody walked in and, there was a lot of, they had these characters coming to life and talking about the books. And we could see that how children got interested and moved on. So as long as you take the first step, go on, talk to parents and get them involved in the space. To sum it up, this is the 5E model in the library that we look at, and we will be sharing this with you as a takeaway. So don't worry if you're not taking screenshots or anything, we're sharing this entire thing with you. Just putting that out there, that school libraries are part sanctuary, part laboratory, part university, part launchpad. Every library on earth is a multiverse. Truth inside of truth, story inside of story, idea inside of idea, which is to say infinite. And we really think that the library is infinite. The possibilities in that are just, like the word says, infinite. Now, before I go into the next part, we can discuss and have tons of ideas, and some of us have tried it, and some of us are excited to try ideas, etc. All of that, but none of this will work unless you have a librarian who is committed to doing this. So, like you can see, to be a librarian is not to be neutral or passive or waiting for a question. It is to be a radical positive change agent within your community. And relearning and learning, we go back and forth with that whole thing. Relearning, unlearning, relearning, that cycle just goes on. So to really sum it up, when I think of the librarian, a librarian is an advocate for lifelong learning. No matter what happens in, otherwise in a child's life, the library has to be a place that advocates lifelong learning. A collaborator and a leader. So if you feel that there are misconceptions about easy work or misconceptions about how people are viewing the library or sending people for detention, etc., it is for us to push and market ourselves. We don't need someone to come and give us the title about being a leader. We are already leaders. So it's just about taking that step ahead and working with the school environment. And of course, an innovator. Innovate, innovate, innovate. Experiment, have fun in the library doing that, because unless we model what we want from the library, children are not going to see it. So we need to step out and move and do things which will excite them, to keep them engaged, to keep them exploring in the library. And I think just, even if you have a wacky idea, just do it. It's not going to hurt anyone. Just go ahead and try it out. This is something I think if you need people to come and support you in the work, you need to show them this. 100 things kids will miss if they don't have a school librarian in their school. Just leaving that for like 30 seconds for everyone to see. And what can you do next? You can evaluate your library. Now, just to see where our gaps are, to see where things are, Adhyayan has this tool which is available on the Librarians of India website, where it's a diagnostic framework and rubric. It's open source, so please go out. We need people to try it out in their library. It looks at the library from the lens of the child, the space, the collection, the library educator, all of those things. So try it out, check where your library lies so that you have an honest understanding of where you are about building this culture of reading and writing and doing different things with them. Go ahead and implement ideas, because unless knowledge is one thing and applied knowledge is another thing. So go ahead and implement ideas, or just one idea. Start small, try it out. You can also build, as a librarian, build a professional network. There is Librarians of India. Adhyayan, of course, conducts so many of these sessions and people join in. There's Librarians of India. There's Librarian Association that does professional development. Somaya University is announcing a course in July 2025 for teacher librarianship. So step out, network with people to find out how you can upgrade your skills, upgrade your professional network. And please, please, please attend the next parts of the series, because that's where you're going to learn more about professional development for librarians in particular, and of course about community libraries and all these things about AI and how do we keep up and keep with the times. Ultimately, I always go back to this one thing, that what a school thinks about its library is a measure of what it feels about education. And we actually have it in the library also. So it's a constant reminder. If you feel demotivated, go back and think about this and go back to your chair and just change the world. I'm up for questions. I'm just going to stop sharing if there are questions about all that we've seen today.
Nirupama and Jayashree, I would just like to say a big thank you to you, being my fraternity members. You really, what you reiterated over here, I believe most of us are doing it in one way or the other. The forms may be different because the venues, the locations are different, the diversity is there, the kind of school gentry is, of course, different. So, accordingly, you have to mold yourself. And I really, really appreciate of all the points that you shared over here. And it was like I just joined in, just I guess last evening or something, because I'm a part of the librarian community as well. So I heard about you from there, and I definitely like to associate myself with you also. And recently, in fact, I was privileged enough to be a part of the librarians meetup in the Middle East. So it was a very, very, beautiful experience. And of course, India is also doing so well. I really, really feel proud about it. So I'll just sum it up as cheers. And I look forward to seeing you again. And
Thank you,
I'd just
Monisha.
like to say, yeah,
Thank you.
bye
Thank
bye
you so
Thank
for
much.
you for
now.
attending.
Thank you
And
for
we
attending.
have
Thank you.
the next 2 months as well. Please watch out for
Yes.
our posters, and yeah, please do join
Yes.
us.
So,
Thank you so much.
Jayashree, I'd appreciate if you could just send me the link of, how to join your association in my email, since you have already sent me the invite for
Sure.
this. So, thank you again and have a lovely evening, everybody, all the participants over here. Bye bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, Monisha. Bye.
So,
Bye.
Yeah.
so
Thank you so
Hema
much.
Our
has her hand
Your
on for a
insights.
while.
Thank you so much. It was really insightful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
So
Miss
Nirupama,
Hema,
there are a couple of questions
yeah,
from Jaita. They were on the chat. So Jaita wants to know a little more about the board games that children do in your library. And she also wanted a sample of a feedback form that you give for your students.
sure. So I will just check about the feedback form because we actually do it through Google Forms also.
Yeah.
And the questions are largely, simple models of what went well in the library and what can we change in the library. And the children give us their suggestions in terms of their how can we improve the collection. We put out a suggestion register for children to also write down suggestions for books and for other things. Regarding the games that we have in the library, initially we started out by using mostly word games, saying like Scrabble and Flutter and all of these different kinds of games. But then we realized that, if you're looking at critical thinking, and it's not, we want the library to be a space that supports learning, right? So we started bringing in different games like Othello. Then children started playing Picturica in the library. A lot of children have expressed interest in chess in the library. So we try to involve as many things as we can. And sometimes we also give them opportunities to bring their board games also to the library. So we try to give them a little time. The times that they have a free reading period, we give them a little time to play those games too. And just building that culture that they have a connect with the library, which becomes important because we don't want it to be that stereotypical idea of, it's just a place that where we read and issue books and come out. It can also be a place where you're learning different things.
Hema, we see your hand raised. You want to ask? Maybe you could unmute and speak.
Thank you so much, Jayashree and Nirupama. It was a very informative session. I don't have a question, but
Thank
I just
you.
want to appreciate um, the things that you have been doing for your students and the library, and they're very lucky to have you.
Thank you.
I particularly love the idea of parents dressing up because our book week is coming up in March. We always do, of course, the school fraternity dresses up staff and children, but the idea of parents dressing up, I'm very curious. I'm going to see how it works in my school because this is my first year as a librarian. I was working as an assistant librarian for the past 5 years. So this is my first time librarian role. So it'll be I'm going to try to incorporate this and see how it goes. And I just want to also suggest, do you have listening centers in your library? Because that's something which also we are thinking about, having listening centers in the library. Because it will be like audiobooks, in the form of audiobooks, or any other form. Like we have a collection of read alouds, but we just want the kids to have only for the purpose of listening, and not, there are some children who would love that audiobooks idea. So there's something to consider. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think, we're also building our collection in different ways. So like when we spoke about different media, we want to hope that we can do this also for the children.
Thank you so much. It was absolutely amazing. I'm looking forward for the other series, part of the other series too. Thank you.
Thank you.
And a lot of appreciation coming in, Nirupama, saying that it was a brilliant session, a lot of wonderful ideas, like chess games and all of that, and book clubs and all of that. So they are taking a lot of takeaways from the session. And a lot of love and appreciation coming your way.
Thank you so much. And I just feel that if you all are already doing these things in the library, please continue and please share, because we learn so much from each other. And if you haven't yet started, then please start. Just try.
So just a request. I think Siddesh has put in the link for a feedback form. We would love for all of you to just put your inputs in that and submit the form. Please see that the name that you write in the feedback form is your name and full name, the way you would want it in your certificate of participation. Request you all to fill the feedback form before you leave. And just so, like I said earlier at the start of the session, in January, that is on January 18th, and in February 22nd, we have the follow-up of today's session. We have two more sessions on libraries. So the second one in January will be hosted by Neeta. Neeta is very much here. Neeta, you want to talk a little bit about Librarians of India as well?
Sure. So Nirupama Apeksha, who's also here, I think I saw her before earlier, and I set up Librarians of India because we felt that we just wanted to create a space where librarians could share with each other, learn from each other, and Apeksha, maybe you can, if you can, I don't know where you are, but if you want to just come on camera for a bit. So the three of us have been trying to grow this community of librarians. And while we call it Librarians of India, like I was telling Monisha, we don't want to restrict it by borders and boundaries. It's just this space where all of us share tips with each other. We celebrate librarians across India who are doing great work, whether they are community librarians, school librarians, any kind of librarian, actually, anyone who loves books and is spreading the joy of reading. And we also, Nirupama every Friday shares absolutely wonderful book recommendations. So watch out for those on our LinkedIn and Instagram pages. We'd love to feature you and your tips as well on our pages. And we keep having events like this for librarians and educators. I think we can send a follow-up email to all the participants with the link.
I think after today's...
Hi, Neeta. I'm here. And Nirupama and Jayashree.
Are you able to hear me now, Nirupama?
Yes, I can hear you now, Jayashree.
Yeah, okay. So now that you have a lot of takeaways from this session, please do implement. Like Nirupama said, there's no right or no wrong. It's just about, just going in and seeing what works for us. And if you do implement something that you've taken away from our session today, please do get back to us. Send us pictures. Love for this to reach out. We would love to reach out to as many schools as possible through this. So that's the whole idea. And so again, once again, please stay tuned for our posts for the next month as well. And please do register and join us. We also have a professional development session coming up on designing rubrics, that is in January. So please do watch out for those posts as well and register if you are interested in that session. And thank you very much to everybody for joining us today, this Saturday afternoon, taking out time. And we would love, and today we've had very good attendance today, and we are really happy about that. And thank you so very much, Nirupama. Thank you for taking out time. I sat with you for a couple of times for planning these sessions. Thank you for taking out time for those and also for today. Really a very, very enriching and enlightening and a fantastic session today. Thank you so very much.
Thank
And
you, Jayashree, for hosting this whole thing. And thank you, Adhyayan team. And it's a pleasure to really just talk and share and be amongst librarians. So please, all of you all do share your work, and we're excited to know.
yeah. And a request to everybody, please do fill the feedback form so that we know the names to who we have to send the certificates of participation. We look forward to your feedback as well in the feedback form. So thank you. And yeah, enjoy the rest of the weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.